Welcome back to our last edition of 30 Minutes to Soups, Chilies, and Stews. And today we're going to make beef stew. Why don't you guys come join me on in the kitchen and we'll go ahead and get started. Good evening, guys. We are actually live, and I don't know if you can see me, but we're going to try to adjust here in just a second. All right, so we are actually live. Give me a second. We'll get everything up and moving. Live. Give me a second. We'll get everything up and moving. Turn this on. Live. Give me a second. We'll get everything up and moving. All right. Okay, guys, we're gonna go ahead and start. It's 8 o'clock, and so I want to apologize for starting a little late. We had to do some kid things this evening, so that's kind of why we're starting late. We had a spaghetti dinner for soccer, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. I'm gonna turn this on. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. We're doing tonight a beef stew, and we're gonna talk about what kind of goes into the beef stew. As you can see, I got my pot on high, but what you're gonna need is some stew meat or your type of beef cut and cubed, potatoes, onions, salt and pepper, garlic, celery, cornstarch, carrots, beef stock, Worcestershire sauce, and a red wine, and salt, pepper, a bay leaf, thyme, rosemary, and paprika. So the first thing we're gonna jump right on in. You need to have this on high. As you can see, it's smoking. You wanna take your beef that I've already have cut up. Again, guys, this is just really up to you. And we're just going to dump that on in. And we're going to make sure that we season this with salt and pepper. And make sure that you get it all going here. It won't take very long, but we want to make sure that we, dropping stuff out of the pan. So we want to make sure that we salt and pepper your meat, because we don't want dry meat. So let's make sure you're putting salt and pepper onto your meat. Alright. Hey, Brittany. I need these kind of tutorials. Hi, Angela. Good evening, guys. Alright, so tonight I just went ahead. I put in the beef. I just used a store-bought beef. It had stew meat on it, and that's what I bought for you guys tonight. But if you don't have actual stew meat, or you don't have actual cut of beef, you can always use like a hamburger meat, a turkey meat, ground up meat, like a chicken meat. You can always use that, but this wouldn't be beef stew. For me, the way I was raised, it wouldn't be beef stew without the cubed like beef. So that's what I have in here tonight. And right now what I have everything on high because we want to get it to cook fairly fast. That's part of this whole idea that I have with the 30 minutes or less, is that you definitely want to make sure something gets to the table and that it's hearty. This beef stew will actually taste like it's been going all day. So I'm just giving my beef a good stir. Make sure you guys, if I didn't, hi Joyce. So just make sure you're getting all the pink out. Again, just as I can show you guys so you can kind of see. Right now it's gotten a good sear on it. And as you can see the meat, and as you always can tell, always make sure that your pan is hot so you can get that good sizzle, that good pop, that good sear onto your meat like I have onto mine, because it's going to lock in. I'm going to pull a part out so you guys can kind of see it. So this is that good sear that got onto the meat when I had the pan nice and hot. All right, guys, we're just about done here. And while this is going, if you're going to use hamburger meat, not a big deal. Stew meat, it usually takes between 5 to 7 minutes to get it completely browned through. You want to make sure there's no pink left over, no matter which meat that you decide to do. Love you too, Angeles. You definitely want to make sure whatever you decide to do that all the pink leaves, because this meat will not go back in and towards the end. So 5 to 7 minutes, depending on how hot you have your pot. Tonight I'm using a Dutch oven again, like I've used in all of my tutorials for the past month. It just has worked for me. If you guys don't have a Dutch oven, don't worry about it at all. Just use what you have. If you have a pan, or I'm sorry, a pot, you can use that as well. If you just have like a little saucepan and you want to make it smaller, you can use that as well. Just make sure it's enough room for all the liquid. And as you guys can see in my pan now, you'll start to see the beef release some of the liquid. I want you guys to kind of look here because it's about done. My beef is releasing liquid and yours will too. I just call it the good juices, okay? So I'm going to, now that we have this out and it's done, so all the pink is gone from my meat. It didn't take that long. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove it from here, and we're gonna take all of the beef out of the Dutch oven. And it smells great. Make sure, guys, do not forget to salt and pepper your meat. You don't want bland meat, okay? What wine is that? We'll talk a little bit about that when I get to that, but tonight we're using a red wine. And it's just one of my favorite red wines that I have. If you don't necessarily drink wine, then you can just, usually down here we have somebody that can direct into the aisle to direct you to a dry wine. But this wine I had here at the house, and it's what I use for pretty much everything. All right, guys, so also what you want to do now is turn your juice. You want to go ahead and get all your juice out, and you're going to leave it, and you're just going to go ahead and pour it over. Okay? So your next step on this is you're going to go ahead and put another thing of a tablespoon of olive oil in here, because the next thing that's going to go in here are your onions, which it's actually ready, and your garlic. So we're going to dump that on in, and it should sizzle. It's doing pretty good. Dump your garlic. And as you guys can tell, you'll be seeing layers actually coming onto the beef stew. That's what makes the beef stew so great, is that you have layers upon layers that are going to start to kind of get the flavors to come together. So right now I still have it on high, medium high. Hi, Melissa. All right, so right now I'm just sauteing my garlic and my onions, and I'm going to move this meat out of the way. We're going to come back to it. And this should take roughly 3 to 5 minutes. And that will get them kind of translucent. So as you guys can kind of see in here, that'll do that. So right now we're just sauteing our onions, our chopped up onions, and our garlic. And we still have our heat on medium high to high. When you guys are doing this, you want to make sure that you're not walking away. Hey! You want to make sure that you are staying in tune, intent. Don't walk away. Make sure you're paying attention to your actual pot, because what you don't want it to do is you don't want it to burn, and you don't want your stew to burn, because that can obviously be a problem, and you'll have stew that tastes burnt, and that's not really what we're going for here. So, I'm here in Austin. It is cold, it's wet, it's rainy, so we could have not chosen a better day to get this stew onto the table, even though I know it's 8 o'clock at night. Hi, Cynthia. I can almost smell it. So it's about 8 o'clock at night here. Again, if you guys are just catching in, I had a prior engagement, so we're here. But I am here. It is Thursday, and we are getting something in tonight. All right. So what you want to do now What you want to do now is go ahead and add in your broth. So you're going to go ahead and add in your stock or your broth, and you're going to go ahead and dump it on into here. What you want to do is reserve a half a cup of this broth, and you will use the whole 32 ounces of this. So when you buy it, just know when you're making the stew, it will definitely, you will use this entire thing. Nothing will be left over. So as the sizzle kind of dies down, I'm going to leave about a half a cup. Okay guys, don't do what I'm doing. I've done this quite often, so I can kind of gauge where half a cup is. So what you're going to do now is dump in your potatoes, your celery, your carrots, right? And then you're going to dump in your spices, my little spice mix that I have here for you. Okay, so your spice mix again is going to be salt, pepper, thyme, dried. These are all dried. These are not fresh. So dried thyme, dried rosemary, and paprika, and 1 bay leaf. Okay, just going to drop that out. And just remember, guys, that bay leaf will have to come out. And you're just going to drop that all. You're going to go ahead and drop it all in. All right. So we're just going to give this a stir. You do want to make sure that you're being very attentive to this. Again, I can't say enough. If you're cooking it on high, you do want to make sure that you're constantly stirring and there won't be any issues. Yeah, I can smell the onion. Yes. So do you, okay, let me make sure I'm seeing here. So you don't saute the celery? No. With this one, you're not going to. So you're just going to saute the onions and the garlic. Okay? All right. We're going to get this to a boil, and then we're gonna wait just a second. And then we're gonna go. So as you guys are tuning in, do you guys have any questions for me as we get our stew going? It's gonna take a minute. This recipe will take you all of the 30, and it might leak over to 35 minutes. So please be patient with stew. Stew was not made, very quickly. You have to take your time and layer your flavors on in. So I'm gonna turn this off. And Cynthia, to answer your question on the celery being sauteed in, you can do that if you want. I just didn't do it in this recipe. You can saute your vegetables all together. It's just really up to you on how you want to do that and what makes you feel comfortable in that. Yes, you can add mushrooms, but I would wait until the very end before you add mushrooms. They tend to wilt down and they tend to give out quite a bit of water, but yes, you can add mushrooms. Also, guys, usually in my stew, this one tonight, I was trying to make it very quickly. I usually add peas. My daughter hates peas, so, the fair trade-off if I'm going to get a big stew is leave the peas out. So frozen peas are another option in here. Mushrooms, of course, are another option. You're welcome. So it's just really up to you on how and what you decide you want to add into your stew. If you like bigger chunks, just remember the larger that you leave your vegetables, the longer time that it's going to take. So if you don't, I'm gonna let you kind of see how small my vegetables are. So as you see here, they're pretty small. They're diced up like my potatoes. If you guys cut them any bigger because you like big chunks, there's nothing the matter with that. It's just gonna extend out a little bit longer to get your vegetables to break down or get them to fork tender. The smaller you're able to dice the vegetables, the faster they will cook for you and kind of absorb the liquid that's going in here too. So again, smaller cut equals a little bit faster cooking time. Larger cut is going to extend your cooking time. Hi, David. So just remember that. I grew up where stew was basically cooked all day. Sometimes it was cooked in a crock pot, which means you just left it there. I remember stew very vividly on Sundays. We would get up in the morning, or let me rephrase that. My mother would get up in the morning, put stuff into the crock pot, and then when we came home from church, it would always be ready to go. But that's just, I just remember them with large chunks of potatoes, large carrots, just kind of a little hearty or a little bit heftier vegetable. But also within that, guys, I want you to make sure you understand with those big chunks comes a longer cooking time. So I want you guys to know that. So if you're reminiscent of an old style type of beef stew, just remember you can do this, but it will not be 30 minutes, okay? It will probably be a little bit longer than that, okay? All right, so we are now at a simmer. It is boiling, okay? And so now we're gonna add in the Worcestershire sauce, and we're gonna add in the wine, okay? So we need a tablespoon. Okay, that is annoying. Hold on, guys. Okay, anybody else get annoyed with this little bottle that just gives you out like a little teaspoon? You can just pop the lid right on off, and it'll give you a flowing type of lid. So I need a teaspoon and a half. And I've already did my half. So we're gonna put that in there. Yes, so we're gonna put that in there, and then we're gonna add a half a cup of red wine. Again, like I was telling you guys, the red wine can be of your choosing. It doesn't have to be dry. It can be whatever. This is what I had, 14 hands. I don't drink very often, but if I do, this is kind of one of my favorite red wines that I like to drink. So I figure, why not throw that puppy up in a stew? It gives it another depth of flavor for you guys. You don't, again, this wine is an optional thing. I love it just because it gives it another layer. So you're just gonna drop those on in there. And you're gonna add the wine after the simmer. After it starts boiling, excuse me. And then you're just gonna pop it on here. And this, I probably should pour and drink the rest of this because it's about done. Okay? So while this is cooking, it's still simmering. Make sure you are constantly giving it a stir. My vegetables are about what I call broken down for my stew. They're a little bit softer right now because I've had them up here. I wish you guys could smell what I can smell now. It's a red wine with like a rosemary scent. It smells amazing, and it'll pair very well with the red meat that we have going back in there. Hi, Heather and Philip, and hi, Ms. Goodman. So I wish my live videos would have smell-o-vision so you guys could like smell. But this definitely kind of reminds me of like a Sunday dinner, coming home from church, and this meal will be waiting on us. Fun memory, Miss Goodman, I was pretty much raised in her household when my mother had to work. I remember her doing a lot of cooking as I grew up as well too. So you're gonna let this simmer some more, and while we let this simmer, we're gonna go ahead and get our thickening agent ready to go. And so what you want to do with that while you still are doing that is you want to take 1 tablespoon of cornstarch, okay? And then you're going to drop that in a bowl. You need a spoon, and then you need the remainder of your beef stock. And this is what I like to call the thickening agent. Guys, I didn't quite get it, so we're just gonna dump that in there. All right, so we have a half a cup to a tablespoon. And this is still going. It's still, it's simmering is what I like to call it now. We're just gonna make sure we're tending to it. It smells amazing over here. All right, so our thickening agent. This is just my way of thickening. You can thicken this with water. You can thicken this I mean, if you really want to, you could probably thicken this with wine. You can thicken it with any type of liquid agent. You can thicken this with just pretty much anything. So tonight I'm going to thicken it with the beef broth or the beef stock I keep talking about. I'm just going to pour it on in here. And then it'll kind of look like this. So this is what it'll look like. And so you just want to stir that on in. It's going to look like brown, and you're just going to stir it in. And make sure you get all of the cornstarch mixed in. So it kind of, and you want to be careful and make sure you get everything from the bottom because cornstarch has a tendency to stick. So make sure that you're getting that all scooped up in here and absorbed with the liquid. Do you sell Mordrano wine in Austin? I love that wine. It's a white, sparkling wine. Oh, Joyce loves wine. Honestly, we have like warehouses of like liquor stores, so I'm pretty sure we could definitely find some type of wine that's pretty similar. All right, guys, so I am still going, and what I'm gonna do now is kind of drop the heat. Still smells so good in here. We're gonna drop the heat. I'm gonna go ahead and add my thickening agent up. And guys, if you have questions, I can see you and respond to you. So if you have anything you wanna add or ask, please go ahead and do that. And as you can see, guys, I did a poor job of making sure all of it got absolved or dissolved. So I'm just gonna make sure I get the rest of that in there. All right. All right, we're just gonna do that. Put that there. All right. And we're just gonna get this to, this will not thicken it like to a gravy-like consistency. This is more, I don't know how to give you what it'll thicken like to. It's more, I want to say it's more towards a liquid, but it thickens it up a little bit more. If you guys want to make it thicker, then the best advice that I could give you is to do another tablespoon of cornstarch to another tablespoon of water, and that'll give you like a paste-like consistency. And that way you can get it in here and that'll start to thicken it up as well. Also, if you have a little bit more time than 30 minutes, it can thicken up that way as well too. So if you have a little bit more time, you're a little bit lenient and you have an hour to give and you want it to just like simmer until the cows come home, you can do that as well too. Again, it's kind of preference. Most of my recipes are preference based. If you guys want to do that, you are more than welcome, and it'll give you a little bit thicker paste. So just remember 1 tablespoon of cornstarch to, I think it's 1 tablespoon of cornstarch to 1 tablespoon of water, and that'll give you some thickening agent. So if this is not your type of thickness, you can go in and keep doing that until you reach your thickness. But I will say, allow it to simmer down first before you make that decision, because sometimes just letting it simmer will give you that thickness as well too. And the recipe, and Melissa's telling me I'm going to cook the next reunion. Melissa, that is so not going to happen. I am not cooking at the reunion. I kind of want to enjoy myself. The recipe is posted. It is always posted to the top of the comments. And so we're gonna, now that this is simmered a little bit, we're gonna go ahead and add the beef and all of its juices back into the beef stew. Again, guys, I tried my super hardest not to keep you guys on here all night. I do realize it is 8 o'clock and I do realize it is late, but I do want you to know that usually if I allow this to simmer maybe about 10 or 15 more minutes, it will thicken up to where it needs to be. So I'm gonna go ahead and give this another stir, check on my vegetables. They seem to be doing very well. And again, the smell is amazing. And if you have mushrooms, this is where you would actually go ahead and dump them in. Okay, and you want to keep them whole. I think Cynthia was talking to you about mushrooms. You want to add them in towards the end of your cooking process. That way they'll still maybe have a little bit of bite and they won't completely condense all the way down and get very mushy. So again, guys, if you're not a lover of carrots, if you're not a lover of celery, you can take away and add in. I at some point have even added in here parsnips. There are pretty much an array of vegetables that you guys can add in here. If you want to, do I dare say, add some beans in here, you can do that as well too. I get the frowny faces from everybody when I say something about beans. Every word so doesn't come out, I'll come blow the kid up and come over. Cynthia, you live close enough to me. I'm thinking you probably should one day. So please come over and take these leftovers off my hand. Although I bet the office ladies probably wouldn't like that very much. So again, guys, you can mix and match your vegetables. I usually see peas. Another good alternative is a parsnip. I mean, whatever your imagination can dream up is exactly what you can put into your beef stew. If you do want to make bigger pieces of vegetable, which that's what I remember as a kid. I remember big onion rings and big chunks of potato. Just know you need to give yourself more time for it to break down. That potato is going to be probably the biggest, I say, point of contingency when you're doing your beef stew, because you want it to get fork tender and you don't want it to be hard as a rock when you're like cutting it. So I just want you guys to know that this recipe is calling for diced vegetables. Again, if you want that homemade type vibe and you want big chunks of meat and you want big chunks of potatoes, it's really, 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 truly up to you. But just make sure you're giving yourself enough time to get that onto the table. This is pretty much 30-35 minutes from start to finish, and then it'll be ready to go on your table. So as I'm running my mouth, I'm going to go ahead and drop my beef and all its juices back in here. The one thing too that I've learned, and then you can see that going in, the one thing that I have learned with using stew meat as well too, and I'm breaking it down, you don't necessarily have to cook it all the way to where the pink is gone. Because once you drop it back in here, it's gonna finish cooking and the pink will go away because it's going back into a hot liquid, which will kind of make the pink cook itself all the way out. So if you guys are actually using stew meat, you can probably go 3 to 5 minutes and you will see a little bit of pink that is left in there. I wouldn't be concerned. I would just go ahead and plop it back on in, give it a couple minutes, and then the pink will completely disappear. If you are using hamburger meat though, I don't suggest that you do that. I suggest that you cook it fully and all the way through. No pink should be showing. There should be no issues there, okay? So again, if you want to change this from a different type of stew and you want to make it into like a turkey stew, you can do that as well too. Turkey ground meat works, and I think they might even now have like turkey breast that you can buy in the store. At least I know at the store that I shop at they do. If you want to make this a chicken stew with the same type of flavors, they have either ground chicken or you can do a chicken breast. Or even if you want to venture and do a chicken thigh, you can do that as well too. Just don't limit yourself to this just being an actual beef stew. Although I have very fond memories of beef stew, you can make this into whatever you want to make it into. So you guys, I have thickened up a little bit here, and I kind of wanted to, you guys can physically see what's going on with my actual stew. It's thickened up a little bit. The vegetables have broken down, and then I have my meat, which is definitely cooked all the way through. So and my carrots. And by the way, guys, for just a little tip on your vegetables, if you don't have time to cut your vegetables, clean your vegetables, do all this stuff, now they have made it so easy that you could just run to the store and pick up diced onions, diced carrots, diced celery. There's no reason to not have it ready. It is more expensive to do it that way other than you just buying the whole vegetable itself, but it's no reason not to have a good meal considering they're doing the peeling and the cutting for you. So that's just like my little tip to you. You will pay for the cutting, but at least you don't have to come home and worry about, okay, I now have to cut up all these vegetables. Nope. You go right to the vegetable. I think they're over there by the vegetables, and they're actually, for my store, they're actually by like the pre-cut like squash or kebabs or preset meals is kind of where I find my already prepped vegetables. So I can give you that tip. It saves you a ton from chopping like I did today, because I chopped all my vegetables because I'm super cheap and I think it's just easier to buy the vegetable and to actually chop it up. But if you don't have that time and you're super busy, because I know we all do, like tonight I started at 8 instead of 7:30, we all have lives, you know, take that shortcut. If you want that hearty stew, then take that shortcut and go over to that pre-made section and get those already pre-cut up vegetables, because they will save you in the long run. Again, they are more expensive, but that, you know, that can never replace, for me, a, you know, good home cooked meal, and especially on tonight, like a night, you know, where we are rainy, cold, and no telling what's going to happen next, because living in Texas, we have like bipolar weather, and then living in Oklahoma is the same thing. One day we were 80, the next day now we're 30. So this is kind of where we're at, and I got a sad face behind my camera. All right, guys, so what you want to do when you're done, you want to go ahead and just remove the leaf so you don't get it. You can leave it in there, guys. I mean, there's nothing. I just usually try to leave it out. I have simmered down quite a bit since I started. If you guys, again, if you want to keep getting that simmered taste like it's all day, you have it now. But if you want it to simmer down some more and you get that good thickness, like a gravy type, if that's the type of texture you want, then you just let it keep reducing down and simmering. And also, somebody made a point, Joy said you can freeze this. So you can freeze this at any given time. Pretty much anything that I make, you can freeze. And if you are on a chopping spree and you do happen to buy the vegetables, you can always freeze the pre-chopped vegetables that you chop up. So that also might save you time as well too. All right, guys, it is now about 8:30, and I feel like I have been in your homes for like the past 30 minutes. If you guys have any questions, as always, please leave them into the comments. I usually try to randomly come through and check on those just to make sure. If you guys have any comments, again, the recipe is always in the comment section, pinned to the top. And it has been a great night. I hope you guys are having a marvelous night. And again, don't forget to follow me on Instagram, as Chef_Jocelyn, or Snapchat, or here on Facebook. I will always be around. But I will see you guys next Thursday, and please leave comments and questions. If you guys don't have any, I'm going to sign out, and you guys have a good evening. Good night.